Right. So I think we'll get started, and then if anybody else joins, they'll be able to catch up. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining. It's really great that we can get together and connect. As you know, the community builder role is it's very new to NCT. Some of you were here with us last time, and some of you have only just joined. So thank you so much for coming on board and helping to build a community for local parents in your area. So during this session, we're going to be taking some time to connect with each other. We're going to discover more about what NCT tabletop nearly new sales are, and we're going to learn and understand how best to make connections in our local areas to help build an NCT community, and of course share our experiences as well. So before we get started, we're just going to have a little bit of quick housekeeping. So those of you who were here with us last time will remember that our values at NCT are welcoming, collaborative, inclusive, bold and trusted, and they help to guide everything that we do. So for this morning, if you haven't already done so, if you could click on your name and add your branch area, and that will help everybody here know where you're from, the area that you're from. To the side, there's a chat function. So please feel free to use the chat function to share ideas or comment on what's been discussed. Hopefully we can all agree to be open and kind to each other. And please just be mindful to let everybody have a chance and an opportunity to speak. If someone is speaking and you want to add something on top of what they're saying, if you raise your hand, there's a little hand function in the reactions where you can do that. If you do have children at home, children are very welcome to join us, so don't worry if you've got little ones around. And we'd ask if you can keep your camera on as much as possible, because that really helps to connect and we can benefit from seeing each other's body language. If you're not talking, it's really helpful if you could mute yourself so that everybody can hear. And we really want this to be a safe space where people can talk openly about the issues that they're having in their local areas. And please be bold and not afraid to ask questions. We're all here together and we can all learn from each other if you do have any questions. Does that feel okay for everybody? And if you're happy with that, can you just give me a quick thumbs up? Brilliant.
Yeah,
thank you so much. Right, Hannah, do you want to start with a little bit of an icebreaker?
Yeah, so what we always do at the start of these sessions is we like to do a little quick check-in so everyone gets to know who each other is. So today we would like to ask you, what is one thing that you love about your community? Daniela, do you want to get us started?
Okay, so one thing that I love about my community is the diversity. I live in a really nice area where we have a wide range of different people with lots of different experiences, and I think that makes for a really nice community.
Okay, I'm going to go with who I can see on my little screen. Caroline in Liverpool, could you tell us one thing you love about your community, please?
Hiya. So we don't actually have much of an active NCT community at the moment, but locally it's very multi-ethnic. Liverpool is a very warm city. People are very kind of what you see is what you get. Kind of love that about them. And just such a wide diversity of, you know, to refugee, you know, it's very wide in that sense as well. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Pavani, what do you like about your local community?
Whatever I saw, whoever I came across, they were really nice. I mean, people are really kind, and you know, apart from one or two some weird situations, I haven't found anything you know, obviously wrong. I love as a whole. I mean, this is our first time living in a, you know, different country from India. So, and it's only been 3 months, and wherever I went, people are like really, really nice, and I love Portsmouth. I love the people.
Oh, that's good to hear. Thank you. Kelly.
I love my local community. I love the fact that we're all trying to make it better. There are some really sort of deprived areas, you know, to be brutally honest, and there are a lot of sort of online communities so far trying to get people together, trying to organise events, trying to help each other out. And even things like the local hospital, the regeneration programme it needs, there's a big survey out at the moment for asking people to just comment and say, you know, look, what, you know, get involved. You can't complain about the hospital if you don't have your say. Even down to like the local infrastructure, big M1 junction at Hemel, and it's causing lots and lots of traffic problems, and people are just saying, just say something, come and help, just do your bit. And actually I really like that. I haven't seen that anywhere else.
Oh, it's good. A little bit of activism in the community is always good. Caroline, are you there with us in Ashby?
Hi, yes, sorry, I'm not on video because I'm eating my breakfast.
Oh, no problem. Don't worry.
I'm not sure I'm going to have a lot to contribute because I've only really connected with the NCT in the last few days.
That's okay.
I was asked by the local team to help out, mainly with administration.
Right. Okay.
So I'm sort of just I'm here to listen.
No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. Okay. Daniel, have we got you with us?
All right, yeah, technical
Hi.
issues. So connectivity is not great in my area. So one problem thing rather than a good thing, but we'll get past that. So yeah, we're quite a diverse area as well. Quite a lot of community working together, trying to better things, like one of the other people had mentioned previously.
Excellent.
Yep, that's us.
Thank you. And I think we've got Emma.
Hello, hi everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm a brand new volunteer and a new mum. Marlo's here. I thought he would be sleeping, but not at the moment. He's 4 months. And right now I'm at my house in Leamington Spa, but I'm moving to Stratford upon Avon. So I've signed up to be a volunteer there, community builder, because I think, as I understand it, they used to have a very active branch of services and everything's died out. So a big reason I want to volunteer actually is to try and meet new people in a new area. But I think something I would say about both Leamington and when I have engaged with Stratford in the past and being a new parent is how there is a lot of support in the community if you just ask. And I think that's something I love about my community, is when I have gone out to baby groups, to play groups, and actually tried to connect with people, it is really welcoming. And I hope that through my work with NCT that I can then, you know, build on that and be part of that. So yeah, very welcoming community.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, so yeah, some interesting things there that everyone's some similarities, some different, lots of talk about diversity and people being welcoming. So they're useful things for us to think about when we're building our NCT community. So I think we'll move on. Thank you everybody for sharing that. We're going to move on to the first part of the session, which is talking a little bit about, we like to sort of share in these sessions a little bit more about different services that NCT provides for those of you who might be new to the charity, or just things that might help you in your role. So I'm just going to share this PowerPoint again. There we go. And today we're going to look at tabletop nearly new sales. So we thought it'd just be helpful to have spend a couple of minutes to understand a little bit more about different ways that NCT supports parents and the ways that the community volunteers that you will hopefully be recruiting in your roles can get involved. So tabletop nearly new sales are a kind of market event which are hosted and organised by NCT volunteers, and in a community venue where parents can buy and sell pre-loved maternity and baby items, which includes things like clothing, toys, equipment, books, etc. As you can see on the slide, these are all pictures that were taken at NCT sales, so you can see a little bit the range of the kinds of things that people can get. On the slides, as you can see, NCT teams ran 100 sales in the last calendar year. So between last summer and this summer, we've had 100 nearly new sales across the UK, and over 25,000 parents were supported by those sales, being able to shop there to reduce the cost of parenting in what we know are really difficult times for many. So our sales are really important at the moment from that point of view. You know, they do operate as a fundraising event for NCT in an ideal world, but really the most important function of our sales is to support parents with the cost of living, and also help them to shop more sustainably. In the sales over the last year, we estimate that we have saved 200,000 items from landfill. So, you know, that's a lot of baby grows and plastic toys that have had a new lease of life by being sold at one of our sales. Has anyone here been to any of our new sales or heard about them? Anybody like to share?
I went to one when I was very early pregnant with my daughter, and if I'm honest, I was completely overwhelmed because it was so busy.
So much so.
And it was amazing, but I literally had no idea of what I was doing. I think I must have been about 11 weeks pregnant, had not got a clue, but
what
just
you
knew
needed
that
or what you didn't.
Yeah, there was just, I knew there was a wealth of stuff that I needed. And unfortunately I didn't manage to get to another one before my daughter was born. But I wish now in hindsight I'd sort of done some research before I'd gone, but I literally didn't have a clue.
Well, there you go. So yeah, some of them, and some of our sales are, you know, on a huge scale, and some of them can literally be a few tables, you know, in the corner of one of our Bumps and Babies groups, or in a smaller community centre. So, you know, there really is a big range of sizes of the sales. And our sales are known for really high quality items. That's one of the things that is unique about NCT sales. Our volunteers are really strict about the items that they accept for sale, and we have safety guidance and principles about what can and can't be sold at NCT sales, and the volunteers check very carefully the quality of all the items that we sell. We're also really mindful to choose accessible venues for our sales, so we encourage our volunteers to consider accessibility for all members of the community when they're choosing a venue. How will buyers and sellers get there? Is it easy to get in and out of? Is it easy to move around the stalls? If you've got any access needs, would everyone in your community feel comfortable there? So those are all questions that we encourage our volunteers to think about when they're deciding whereabouts in their local community would be a good place to have a sale. They also help parents to buy items cheaply, but they also create a circular economy. So we've got a quote here that says it's a good cyclic system and saves a lot of things going to rubbish tips. So obviously we know that, you know, sustainability is really important for parents, and our sales help parents to make money by reselling items they no longer need. And buyers know that their shopping is benefiting local families and supporting the charity. One of our new aims and part of our new strategy and mission is to protect the environment for future generations, and our new sales play a really important part here. We know that so many baby items are outgrown before they're worn out, and they're often still in really good condition. So our sales help to make sure that those items are getting more use and more love and not ending up in landfill. So at tabletop sales, parents will pay their local NCT to have a table, and then they get to keep all the money that they make on the day. So there's no commission. So it's a really good way for parents to, you know, raise a bit of extra money And then NCT usually charges a small amount to enter the sale, and usually will let members and volunteers in earlier to grab the biggest bargains as a bit of a perk of membership or helping out. So that's a little bit about what the sales look like. But for you as a community builder, if you think, yes, actually a Nearly New Sale is something that would really benefit my community, and I don't think there's anything similar, or there's space in the market for an NCT sale, what would you be looking for in someone to organise a sale? So we know that our Nearly New Sale coordinators need to be organised, confident leaders, strong communicators, and good at planning and delegating, motivating others. So it's essentially somebody who's got some event management or organisational skills, and that doesn't have to be, on a big scale, but just someone that's happy to start up a sale and lead a team and do some planning and organising. People can sign up to volunteer through the NCT website. So if you're doing some recruitment in your local area, we don't expect you to be able to support the volunteer to start a sale. We can do that. Our team will have a call with them, and we'll help them and support them through the process of getting their sale up and running. So your role is to do that advertising and recruit, hopefully attract the volunteers, but then we will obviously support them with the actual nuts and bolts of getting the sale started. The coordinator chooses an accessible venue, and NCT provides the admin side in terms of risk assessments, insurance, etc. We'll provide step-by-step guides and lots of support. And we tend to find that for a tabletop sale, a team of around 3 to 5 volunteers works best. So first we need a coordinator, and then we'll need a few more volunteers to work with them. And we ask that a Nearly New Sale coordinator and team is happy to commit to at least 1 sale per year. Usually we find once people get started, they get a bit of the bug and they want to do more than that, but 1 a year we find is sort of the minimum. So that's just a little bit of background information about Nearly New Sales, which we hope is helpful for you, and perhaps helps give you an idea of whether a Nearly New Sale might be something that parents in your local area would really benefit from. So, maybe have a think about, are you aware of any of these types of sales happening in your local area? Can you think of an area local to you where a sale might work? And where would you start by looking for a volunteer that would be suitable for this role? Does anybody have any questions about that before we move on? Anything specifically about Nearly New Sales or about their local area, volunteer recruitment?
I have a question, which it relates not so much, well, to try and understand the difference between the tabletop sales and the
ticketed
where
sales.
the volunteers organise them, because what I understand, that the contact I have here, actually the volunteers have said they don't want to do tabletops. They'd rather do the ones that, I think, as I understand it, involve quite a lot more work.
Yeah.
And if they're happy to do that, nobody's going to complain. But
absolutely.
I was wondering if you could outline the pros and cons between the 2 different types of sale.
Yeah, so so the reason that we tend to talk initially, so most of the community builders that are on this call, perhaps apart from you, Caroline, are in areas where there are little or no volunteers already. So they're in a position of building up a volunteer team to start providing parent support events in their local area. So in that situation, if we want to start a Nearly New Sale, we tend to suggest a tabletop sale, purely because, as you said, it requires a smaller team and it's much easier to sort of get started out of the box, if you like. But for, in terms of what's the difference between a tabletop and a ticketed sale, so NCT teams also run ticketed sales, and that is where parents will pay a registration fee to sell their items at a sale, and then they bring the NCT volunteers provide them with tickets for their sale. So they might be given 50 or 100 tickets. That means they can sell 50 or 100 items at the sale. And then they will bring all their items the day before, usually to the venue, drop them off, and then the volunteers will sort them and set them out in what we call sort of like a pop-up shop style. So they would group together all the items of a specific type. So you'd have all your pushchairs together, all your books together, all your toys together, clothes, etc. And then parents come in and shop, pay at one till point. So they don't pay individual sellers for the items that they're buying from the seller. They pay at the till. And then after the event, the volunteers will return any unsold items to the sellers and also distribute the proceeds of the sale minus a percentage of commission that has been agreed beforehand. But because it involves a much bigger team, you need a lot more volunteers there on the day to sort all the items. You need more volunteers to do the admin in terms of sorting the tickets, sorting out the commission. So it's, you know, it's absolutely something that we're always happy to talk to anyone about, starting a ticketed sale if you have, you know, a team that are happy to do that. Daniela, how many volunteers would you say on average are needed for a ticketed sale compared to a tabletop?
Yeah, so a tabletop sale could be run with as many as little as 2 volunteers. So you could have 2 to 3 volunteers to run a tabletop. A ticketed sale, even a small scale ticketed sale, would need a minimum of sort of 10 to 15 volunteers. I volunteer in my free time as a Nelly New Sale coordinator in Warwickshire, and I need 80 volunteers for my sale. I don't have 80 volunteers, the sale can't happen. So it would be quite unachievable to start off with a ticketed sale if you're starting out, a big ticketed sale anyway. Definitely if you're starting out, start small, try a tabletop sale. It's not as desirable for parents, I'll be completely honest. It's a much better shopping experience to be able to pick and choose what you want, because what sometimes happens with the tabletop sales is you'll go to the first table, you'll see something, and then you might go to like 3 more tables and you've seen something which is a better quality for cheaper. So in terms of the shopping experience, a ticketed sale is much better. But the tabletop sale is a nice one to just start small with, because you don't need as many volunteers. Yeah.
Thanks. That's really helpful to understand the difference.
And we have separate guides for each type. So, you know, if you had a team that wanted to start a ticketed sale, we do have, you know, separate resources for them to use.
Yeah. Manya, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Sorry. With the kind of recruiting people to be volunteers, how, like, whatever sort of methods we use, whether it's like an email or putting on the Facebook or like posters and things, how do we know that kind of the volunteers that are attracted from that are sort of due to our efforts? Like, would we then kind of sort of onboard them and hold like an interview or like a call, or is it kind of we're just getting people to sign up and then that's all on you, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so once volunteers get in touch with us, we have an initial chat with them, find out what they want to do, and then we would pass them on to you as a community. You know, we would sort of connect the two of you, the volunteer and the community builder. So you're not actively managing your volunteers, but you are sort of checking that they have enough resources, that if they're a lead volunteer, for instance, at a Bumps and Babies group, and they tell you, you know, this group can't happen without more volunteers, you would then look to recruit more volunteers to support them. The same as if a volunteer said that they were thinking about stepping away, your role would then be to sort of replace that volunteer. So you have that connection with your volunteers, but you're not actively interviewing, that kind of thing. We could do that centrally. However, it's completely fine if you're having a conversation in the community to chat with volunteers, find out what they want to do, and then you know, pass them on to us for registration and keep that connection going, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
No problem. Yes, Emma?
Yeah, it's not so much a question, more of a thought. I know, Daniela, we spoke recently, and a Nearly New Sale I think they are fantastic services to be able to offer. And you mentioned potentially that students might be able to get on board as volunteers. And I thought that was a really good idea I'd like to explore, because when I'm not on maternity leave, I'm a lecturer at a university, and students are often coming up to me asking about opportunities for volunteering or, you know, work experience type things. And I think if you've got students interested in event management, then this could be really good for them to do. So yeah, there's just a thought really, and something that I'd like to explore, and I think I can do it in a fairly formal way through the university, where they offer it as a volunteering opportunity.
Yeah.
You've also got employee volunteering as well. So quite a lot of businesses will, you know, have their employees who will get together on a specific day to volunteer. And a ticketed Nearly New Sale is a brilliant way, because quite often they have high numbers of volunteers. So if they've got like 20, 30 employees that want to volunteer, then helping out with a ticketed Nearly New Sale is a really great way for them to get involved as well.
Okay, yeah.
So we're now going to move on to talking about building relationships. And building relationships is probably one of the most important aspects of the community builder role. So there are many different types of relationships that you'll have as a community builder. The most common relationship will be that relationship between your community volunteers, so the lead volunteers who run your the events and activities in your branch. And of course, relationships that you have with external stakeholders, so people like organisations and parents. So when we find somebody who has the same interests as us, which is supporting people as they become parents, we need to come together, because this is the start of our social movement in the areas in which we live. And just to kick this part of the session off, we want to share a really short video about creating a movement and how it just takes one person to create something quite special. It's only about 3 minutes long.
So ladies and gentlemen, at TED, we talk a lot about leadership and how to make a movement. So let's watch a movement happen, start to finish, in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons from it. First, of course, you know, a leader needs the guts to stand out and be ridiculed. But what he's doing is so easy to follow. So here's his first follower with a crucial role. He's going to show everyone else how to follow. Now notice that the leader embraces him as an equal. So now it's not about the leader anymore, it's about them, plural. Now there he is calling to his friends. Now if you notice that the first follower is actually an underestimated form of leadership in itself. It takes guts to stand out like that. The first follower is what transforms a lone nut into a leader. And here comes a second follower. Now it's not a lone nut, it's not two nuts, 3 is a crowd, and a crowd is news. So a movement must be public. It's important to show not just the leader, but the followers, because you find that new followers emulate the followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, and immediately after, 3 more people. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point. Now we've got a movement. So notice that as more people join in, it's less risky. So those that were sitting on the fence before now have no reason not to. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, but they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. So over the next minute, you'll see all of the those that prefer to stick with the crowd, because eventually they would be ridiculed for not joining in. And that's how you make a movement. But let's recap some lessons from this. So first, if you are the type, like the shirtless dancing guy, that is standing alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals. So it's clearly about the movement, not you. Okay, but we might have missed the real lesson here. The biggest lesson, if you noticed, did you catch it? Is that leadership is over-glorified. That yes, it was the shirtless guy was first, and he'll get all the credit, but it was really the first follower that transformed the lone nut into a leader. So as we're told that we should all be leaders, that would be really ineffective. If you really care about starting a movement, have the courage to follow and show others how to follow. And when you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first one to stand up and join in. And what a perfect place to do that, TED. Thanks.
So we're not asking you to go out and dance alone in the middle of a field. Obviously, if you want to start that way, of course, that's totally fine. But the purpose of showing you that was really to show you that social movements can emerge as the result of the effort of one individual who asserts values, they form relationships that are rooted in those values and mobilize the power to translate the values into action. And with NCT's new 5-year strategy that was launched recently, there's no better time to use the new values to inspire ourselves and others in our areas to make change. So many other organisations or people with influence already have trust. They've got networks, and if we want to build trust, we also need to come together with others. We can't just form a community in our areas by ourselves. So we need to ask other people to listen, and we need to have conversations together to find out what matters to other people in the community as well as ourselves. By listening to people, we can hear stories and we can find common interests as well to build our connections. When we listen to parents talking about what they need and what's missing from their area, this can really empower them. It's a basic human need to be listened to by other people, and it gives a feeling of recognition. We're valuing their voice, and it gives people motivation when we do that. But we completely appreciate that building relationships can take time. We can make connections by having conversations where we understand the self-interest of other people, and this helps us work out how relationships with other people can be mutually beneficial. What we would sort of suggest is that you set up a pitch. So why is this conversation that we're having with somebody happening? Introduce yourself. Who are you? Why you're here? What's happening or not happening in your local area, and how does or will it make a difference to local parents? Share why you care, which is otherwise known as a self-interest. Ask people why they care, why are they here? So an example of this could be that there isn't any free or affordable support for parents, or you might have heard from a local refugee charity that there are no free activities for parents to connect, and you want to change that. Or you might have heard from somebody that there's no feeding support in the area, that it's been cut down drastically and parents are struggling to get support. And then you can respond to what people are saying by asking questions, deepening your listening and getting to the core issue that people are facing. And this can really help you build services in your area. You can explain who NCT is, how NCT volunteer-led services can make change. An example of this could be to use figures. You might do surveys with local parents to find out what they want and what the need is. We know that 106,000 parents attended NCT's community parent support groups in 2022. That figure is really powerful, especially to sort of local councillors and people who can make change. Maybe somebody that you're talking to can't personally make a change, but can help strengthen your support for the next conversation that you'll have with somebody. And then your next steps after that conversation would be to either set a date to chat again to the person that you've been having a conversation with, or reflect on actions from the chat. We move on to the next slide, Hannah. So what we'd ask you to do is have a think about individuals in your community who you'd like to arrange conversations with. It could be local MPs, healthcare professionals, parents. What we'd like you to do is, in small groups, is just put a pitch into action. So in pairs, one of you could take the role of a community builder and the other person an external individual who you want to build a relationship with. We've given you some examples here that a need that you might have locally could be that you need some free or affordable parent support groups and you don't have any funding. So it could be that you're trying to speak to somebody like a local councillor to see whether there's any funding available to put this free support on. or you may have had a conversation with a parent and there's a real need for nearly new sales in the area. So think about who it is that you could have a conversation with locally. Or it could be that you want to have a conversation with a local parent to find out what is needed in the area, because what you think might be needed might not be what parents think is needed in the area. So one of you can take on the role of the community builder, and one, if you could take on the role of an external organisation, and then have a chat. It's okay if you haven't done research into your area yet. You could use one of these examples, and we'll give you about sort of 5 minutes to just have a practice at having a conversation with somebody to try and either find out what's needed in the area or get somebody on board who has the same sort of self-interest as you have. So we'll put you in breakout rooms, and give you 5 minutes to have that sort of chat, to have a practice of having the chat. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully that gave everybody a little bit of confidence to have conversations in their area. What we'd really like for you to do is to try and get at least one conversation set up in the next month with, it could be a parent, or it could be a local counsellor, or just somebody in your local community. And then it would be really great if you could use the Teams channel to feed back what happened, who you spoke to, what worked, what didn't work, so we can all learn from and inspire each other. So we know that connecting with other volunteers is really important, and we're conscious that you might not have volunteers in your local teams just yet. So we wanted to make sure that there was some time for you to all chat and share ideas. So we thought we might take 15 minutes now for that. Does anybody want to share something that they've been doing so far, if you have already started, and how that went? It's fine if you haven't, but if you've got something that you want to share with everybody, then we would really love to hear from you. Or perhaps you found a really great place to put one of our advertising posters up for volunteers, and that's worked well in your area.
I'm gonna go ahead if you guys don't mind. So I'm not sure if any of you are from Portsmouth.
No, I don't think so. I think everyone's all in different areas at the moment.
So there is this place near the railway station, Guildhall. It's a huge building, the civic offices, and I believe some courts are around. And I think I've seen a lot of posters there on walls, and I think that's a great place if we can put up some posters and give any of the contact number or email for people to reach out. And I was also meaning to ask, since I'm new to the community, new to the country on the whole, so I've been going to some meetup groups to just talk to people or understand people. So do we get any posters or visiting cards of anyone with contact name and address, so I can just check if any of them have any free time and they can contribute something?
So we can definitely send you some posters about volunteering, and then do you mean like so that you can arrange conversations with people in your community? Yeah, we can give you access to an NCT email account if that would be useful, so that you don't have to use your personal email for making those connections.
Okay, that would be great.
Okay, Kelly, have you got anything to share about anything that you've done so far in terms of recruitment, or what's happening in your area that's working well?
I'm still at the early stages of still trying to find out what Hemel and Berkhamsted need. I had a conversation with a volunteer last week, I think it was. She was really nice, and actually we're in a similar full-time role as in occupation, so actually we had a lot in common. She was quite worried about committing to something regularly, like a breastfeeding clinic or a Bumps and Babies cafe. So she's actually come back to me and said, actually, I'd rather just stick to the ad hoc stuff. And I said, yeah, look, that's absolutely fine. And when I had initially had a chat with her, she was quite keen to take on some of the breastfeeding aspects. And I said, as a branch that's not currently active, I can't offer you a breastfeeding clinic role to take. But definitely come and work with me, and I can let you, create some of the breastfeeding posts for social media, some of the posters, etc. But I haven't heard back yet, so I wonder if I've gone a bit too hard.
And so you said that you're at the stage of finding out what parents need, which is a really important aspect, isn't it? Sometimes we think we know what parents might need locally, but we need to be asking that question. So what are you doing to find out?
Mainly I've had I think it was Danielle actually that helped me with it, in terms of the different types of NCT events that are run, and I've basically pinned it to the top of the Hemel Berkhamsted page and posted it on other groups and being like, this is what we run, how many of these can actually help you. And as much as I haven't had that much response, the people that have messaged me have been quite specific in terms of, I need something to take my 3-year-old to and my 3-week-old baby to, or I really, really want sales. I can't make it to any of the other events because I don't have any childcare, but I really need, I'm struggling for staff. I really want the cheap sales. So between those sorts of things, I'm trying to sort of navigate a way of how I would do a sale, but with only it being me. But I noticed that the sister group in Watford, to me, they must have picked up in volunteers recently, because they've gone from having no events recently to they've got a walk going. They've had a new sale last week, or this week coming, and they've got something else coming up as well. So I'm wondering if I might be able to connect with them and perhaps borrow them for a nearly new sale, or vice versa, and help out. I mean, because it's only 20 minutes down the road from me, but if there's any way they can help me out as a loan, I'm very happy to repay the favor.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, and a lot of new sale volunteers will volunteer at different sales, but I think we can have a separate chat about perhaps focusing some recruitment on a specific activity, because I think it's a shame he's not managed to join us today, but Tony in Newcastle has managed to do that, hasn't he, Daniela? So he started by specifically looking for someone to lead a walk and talk. So now he's got someone running that, and so he identified that was missing in his area. So he's sort of started to do a little bit more targeted recruitment work. And I think what we focus a lot on social media in the early stages, because it's really important, isn't it, to get that engagement back up, and it's a good way to reach a lot of people. But sometimes, mixing that up with those in-person connections like Daniela was talking about can really help as well. Does anyone else have any sort of questions or ideas for things that they want to do when they, as they get started in their role?
It's also worth pointing out as well that it's completely fine to start small, like try and recruit a one walk and talk volunteer, because quite often once you get that one volunteer who's leading a walk and talk, and then parents start coming to the walk and talk, they can then be your potential volunteers to then start things like a Bumps and Babies chat. And also connecting with your local antenatal practitioners. If you have courses running in your area, we can put you in touch with them if you need to be put in touch with your practitioners. And if they're running courses and you've got something happening, like if you've got a walk happening, they can let parents on the course know that there's a walk happening. And also that, they talk about, our practitioners talk about the need for volunteers in the area too. So if they know that you're potentially trying to recruit volunteers in the area, just letting them know that, and they can have that conversation with parents when they're on their antenatal courses too.
Yeah, because we do often see that snowball effect, don't we? It just takes somebody to start a walk, and then once word gets out that NCT is active in the area and people start coming along, you just need that one thing to happen sometimes, don't we?
Yeah. And it doesn't need to be a big commitment either. They don't have to commit to running a walk every week. If they just want to do a walk twice a month, and then if somebody does attend their walk, they could be another volunteer who, volunteers on a rota as well. It definitely doesn't have to be a big commitment from a volunteer.
Yeah. And I think with a Nearly New sale as well, we know that parents are so keen for them to happen that usually if you sort of advertise that you are planning to hold a sale, you will get lots of people come forward who want to volunteer, because it's a nice light touch way of getting involved, isn't it? Not that regular commitment.
Are there any sort of recruitment posters advertising solely for a Nearly New sale coordinator?
We can definitely help you get one. We've got I'm
happy to build one, but I wondered if there was one already.
No, so the ones that we have printed at the moment are just sort of like generic volunteering ones, but we can definitely help you to get one put together. We've got a Nearly New sale coordinator role description.
Yeah, I did pop that in the chat earlier.
Yeah. So that
I'll use that then, and I might, like you say, try some more targeted marketing, and if people of Hemel and Berkhamsted want a sale, then give the people what they want, and try and recruit for a volunteer that way to help with the sales.
Yes.
And perhaps go from that point onwards.
Yeah, sounds like a great idea.
Yeah. And I think as well, don't be disheartened if people, don't come forward straight away. Our volunteer that Hannah mentioned in Newcastle, Tony, he'd been with us for several months before he got anybody who said that they were interested. But it just takes one person. It just takes one person to get involved and then, provide support for parents. Because a lot of people don't know we're here.
I think what's really interesting, we have a lot of conversations with new volunteers, and one of the things we always ask them is like where they saw the role, and often they can't tell us, and then when they think about it, they tell you that they've actually seen it in a few different places. Oh, I saw it on social media, and then I saw a poster in my local Sainsbury's, or so sometimes it takes them to see something a few times before they actually act on it, which is why it can be helpful to spread your message across a few different channels as well, not just focus on social media, or not just focus on posters, but have a combination of both, because we know that sometimes it takes someone they really do need someone to help. That's the third thing I've seen this week, okay, I'll get involved.
And sometimes that personal ask as well works better than anything, because they might be interested in doing it, but until you actually ask them or say to them, actually, you sound like you would be perfect to run a chat in a coffee shop, just something simple like that. And then sometimes when you've actually asked them in person, and they're quite happy to say yes, but they might not sign up to a poster or something that they've seen on social media. Yes, Caroline.
Do volunteers have to be members?
No, definitely not.
No, they don't have to be members, they don't have to be parents. No.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's a misconception as well, that people think volunteers have to be parents. You don't have to have done an antenatal course, you don't have to be a parent. We've got lots of volunteers who are students, they make amazing volunteers. We've got volunteers who are grandparents, we've got volunteers who just don't have children or want to have children, but they just want to help other people in their community.
Okay, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Any more questions or anything that anybody would like to bring up? No. Are there any hands up, Daniela? I can't see everyone. No. Okay, great, thank you. So yeah, just a reminder to help you stay connected today and carry on any conversations or add any thoughts that you might have had after this session. Please do use our Community Builder Teams channel, and we will post this recording in there as well. And as a final checkout, we just wanted to ask if, as we've been talking, you've had any thoughts of one person or one conversation that you might have after today's session in your local community to help build a connection for your role. Does anyone have any thoughts on that? You can pop it in the chat if you don't want to tell us. That's fine.
I was just looking at the local Burton and South Derbyshire College, because they run courses for childcare and education. So
Yeah.
going back to the earlier suggestion of students, I think they would well be worth contacting to see if there's any potential volunteers there.
Definitely.
Yeah. We did work with was it a college or a university, Hannah, where they were doing childcare, and they worked with a tutor to actually put on a Bumps and Babies group so that the students had experience of working with parents and their babies, and that worked really well during their term time.
Yeah, we did that. Yes, it was a college. They were struggling to find enough work experience in other settings for the students. So yeah, we supported them to start their own Bumps and Babies group, and that worked really nicely. So yeah, so we get a lot of interest from particularly midwifery students or people doing health and social care. So yeah, great idea, Caroline. Anyone else had any thoughts of someone in their local community that they think might be a good person to have a chat with?
I think I'd like to reach out to the health visiting team. I had thought about children's centres as a location for posters, but I hadn't thought any further than that. And actually, when I had my baby, the health visitor was really helpful in signposting me to more support services, and even introduced me to another woman who lives on my road that had a baby through our mutual consent. So it helped me build a community of new parents in my own area. So yes, I think reaching out to them and seeing if they can put me in touch with the health visiting team in Stratford would be good.
Yeah, great idea. Thank you. Okay, anyone else had any thoughts? Not yet. Well, as I said, please do use the community builder channel. You can carry on those conversations there. We won't keep you any longer, but we want to say a huge thank you for coming along. It's always lovely to get to know you all a bit better. There will be a survey at the end of this call. Please do fill that in to give us your feedback on this session, and how you found it, and anything you would like to see in future sessions. We run these Community Builder Connect sessions every 2 months, so the next one will be in September. So we'll give you an invitation to that probably sometime in August, but we know obviously people don't check their inboxes much in August, so we will, we'll give a reminder at the beginning of September as well. Thank you so much for coming along today, and it's been lovely to see you.